Hello everyone, time for our next chapter of Hamish and the Worldstoppers. In the previous chapter, Hamish had a plan that he was going to try and get kidnapped by the Terribles himself to try and save his family. But then at the end of the chapter, Alice said that she had an idea. So, chapter 26, Action Stations. I don't understand, said the small pudgy kid with cheeks like a hamster. Can you explain the idea again? OK, said Alice, putting her hands on her hips, but this will literally be like the 300th time. Hamish looked out into the clearing. He couldn't believe it. Yesterday there had been 6 of them. This morning there were dozens. At least 25 children sitting cross-legged on the floor of the wood outside Alice's granddad's shed. I'll go a bit slower this time, she said. It was late morning the next day, and Hamish, Alice, Buster, Elliot, Clover and Venk had been up for hours already. This was not a day for school. This was a day for action. Here is precisely what had happened. At exactly 9:01 a.m, Buster had distracted Dr. Fussbundler with his sore filling, while Clover crept into the back office of the Tooth Hurts. In there, she'd found Dr. Fussbundler's records, and now they had a list of every kid in Starkley who'd had a filling with that weird xenoxyclump stuff. That meant they had a list of every potential pause walker in town. At 9:04 a.m, that precious list was with the rest of the PDF. And by 9:15 a.m. that morning, Venk, Alice, Hamish, Clover, Elliot, and a slightly sore Buster had split up and made sure Winterbourne and Suntor autumnals were completely covered. Psst, they'd say from around a corner or behind some bins whenever they spotted one of Dr. Fussbundler's patients. Could we possibly have a quick word about the future of life on Earth? And there they all are, sitting in front of the shed. Now, at 11:48 a.m. on an otherwise normal Thursday, every kid in Starkley who'd been xenoxyclumped was here. They may not have looked like much, but Hamish could see something special. Now they had an army. There was Darcy and Lola, the twin girls who lived down the road from Clover. They had been so pleased to discover there was an uprising planned. Over there by the tree were Finch and Jude and Cody, and there was Drake and Kit and Rufus sitting attentively with Ed, Daisy, Mo and Poppy. Hamish even saw Dexter, the kid in the stripy top they'd seen from high up on the roller coaster the night before. He tried to talk to him, but Dexter remained completely silent, like a boy who'd seen a ghost. He was deathly pale and trembly to the touch, and tried his best simply to hide among everybody else. Hamish and the PDF stood before these kids wearing their overalls and some little sergeant patches that Elliot had ironed on to make them look like they were properly in charge. He'd also typed out his very own list of frequently asked questions in a posh font and printed it out on little bits of yellow card because he thought it might be handy. He called it a PDF AQ. And this is Elliot's PDF AQ. And there's a picture of it. Look, what on earth is going on? Good question. It seems we're being invaded by Terribles who pause time and somehow we're the world's first line of defence. What? Yes, and tomorrow night is the night of the final event, a fearsome feeding frenzy that will destroy Starkley forever and mark the beginning of a global terrible takeover. Sounds awful. Where do these Terribles come from? Either the sea, space, or France. At the moment, our best guess is space, but none of us has ever been to France, so who knows what goes on there. Why have they chosen Starkley? Because it's so boring and hardly anyone comes here. That means no pesky outsiders and no one ever guessing that something like this could go on here. Plus, it's handy for the sea and there's a 24-hour mini-mart just down by the garage. When do these fearsome beasts attack? Look, all we know is they're coming more often and staying for longer. At first they came under cover of darkness, then at about supper time. Now they're so confident of victory they come day or night. See my graph for further information. Diagram 1. So there's no logic to their appearances? Why are you looking for logic? Space aliens are stopping the world so they can steal grown-ups, while a group of 10-year-olds with questionable dental hygiene motor about on vehicles they are not qualified to drive in order to hatch a plan to prevent the end of life on Earth as we know it. Okay, don't get snarky. I'm not getting snarky, I'm just saying. Well, you sound a bit snarky to me. Well, I'm very sorry, but the pressure is getting to me a bit. Is that why you've started talking yourself? Sorry. Is that why you've started talking to yourself? Quite possibly, yes, it is. Good point, Elliot. Thank you, Elliot. Okay, this has gone weird. So that was Elliot's frequently asked questions. Where's Buster? Asked Hamish, scanning the crowd of Starkley kids. He said he had to pick up something from town, said Alice. But people want more details, Hamish. They're scared. I'll try and explain, said Hamish, stepping forward and taking a deep breath. All eyes were upon him. He cleared his throat. Kids of Starkley, he said, you may have grown up thinking that this was Britain's 4th most boring town, but it is anything but. In fact, it is at the centre of the most exciting thing that has ever happened in the world, ever. The Worldstoppers are upon us. They have sent the Terribles to take away the grown-ups and return them as mean. In less than 48 hours, their plan is to finish off Starkley and then start on the rest of the world, and only we can stop them. One lone hand shot up. But how? Said a girl with her hair in a plait. There's nothing about it in that FAQ. PDFAQ, corrected Elliot. How are we going to get our parents back? She wailed. How are we going to stop people being mean? We're just kids. We're not just kids, said Hamish. We're pause walkers. A hubble-bubble of chitter-chatter broke out. There was fear in the air. What did this mean? What could they possibly do? Alice has an idea, said Hamish, quietening everyone down. There's a pause today, and she thinks there could be a way of beating these Worldstoppers once and for all and getting everything back to normal. He stepped back. Alice, he said. When there's a pause, she said, humans stop, right? Everyone mumbled their agreement. But the Terribles keep moving, and just when the pause is nearly over, they all run away again. Why? Because they don't want to be seen, shouted a kid who for some reason was dressed as a ninja. Maybe, said Alice, but why are they bothered about being seen? They're so powerful, and most of the grown-ups have either been taken or they're back and they're mean, so maybe they're running away for another reason. What reason? Said a gangly boy near the back. Well, and this is just a guess, I think that when we move about, they stop still. The whole clearing fell silent as the assembled kids thought about what Alice had said. What? Shouted someone in the middle. What if they have to abide by the same rules, she went on. What if that's why one of them watches the town clock? Because if they're still here in Starkley when the pause finish, they all just stop. Because if they're all here in Starkley when the pause finishes, they all just stop. Well, it was an idea, all right. And what if it was true? Maybe that was why the Terribles all panicked and bounded away so quickly when the world was about to return to normal. They were scared of getting frozen. And if the kids could all make the Terribles freeze in time, well, they could do as Clover said and call the police or the army or the mayor and say, look, monsters, it's true, take them away. This seems quite a risk, said Venk, chipping in, but right now it's the only idea we have, and I for one am in. So who's with us? Asked Hamish, and for a moment no one moved. But then slowly, I'm in, yelled Finch, raising one clenched fist in the air. We are too, yelled Lola and Darcy. And us, cried Ed and Rufus. And I will help also, came one last voice in an odd stilted accent from somewhere near the back. Everybody turned to see from where this low and confident statement had come. Standing next to Buster was a bulky boy in an ill-fitting t-shirt wearing a bright green Mexican wrestling mask. El Gamba is here to help her, shouted Granville Bile, who hadn't really cracked his Mexican accent yet. What's the prawn doing here? Said Alice, wide-eyed as Hamish put his hands on his hip. When did he become a pause walker? About half an hour ago, said Buster. When we were stealing the list from Dr. Fussbundler's, we forgot to check his appointment book. I nipped back and the first thing I saw was Grenville walking out with a brand new filling. He was already on his way to the sweet shop. Hello, came another new voice as a kid pushed his way through the bracken. What are we doing? What is this? Hide and seek? It was Robin. He was holding a lollipop from the Tooth Hurts, so he'd been there too. Robin, yelled Hamish, but I thought your dental hygiene was second to none. Robin blushed. I may have exaggerated, he said. I'm a little partial to an Austrian aniseed, so what's this all about? Well, said Hamish, looking awkward, I think the answer might shock you a bit. Doubt it, said Grenville, shrugging. Not much shocks me. It probably will, said literally everybody else in unison. Well, whatever it is, we're in, replied Grenville, slapping Robin on the back, which seemed to really startle him. Then we're ready, said Hamish, in his best, most heroic voice, as he looked out over this new group of brave friends and time warriors. Let us begin. We'll see what happens next time.